Hello, everyone, and welcome to So Many Games So Little Time, a podcast where Evangelos and myself talk about board games every week. Last time we spoke about Nova Roma, and today we are going to talk about Barcelona.
Yes.
But before we start with Barcelona, I have two cameras. I'm recording now. We're recording on Zoom because my laptop. It's a bit weird because my laptop still hasn't arrived. But I have a second camera in front of me here as well because I have to video my computer screen to do the randomizer because we both have too many games. I think we can. We have too many games and we don't have enough games because we keep buying them.
Yeah.
So. And I've come up with a way to force myself to play the older Gathering Dust games. Well, potentially, because my collection is now at 309, and I'm going to press this randomize button, and one game will be number one, and that game I have to play next. I mean, in the short future, hopefully in a week or two. Let's put it like that. Of course, I'm hoping that Twilight Imperium doesn't come out or any other crazy game. Some of these games are in Belgium, so that's a caveat. I don't play them. And campaign games, I can also pass on them because otherwise the whole idea of replaying games goes out the window if I'm stuck for a couple of months playing that campaign. The campaign games are for when I retire, I guess. Anyway, so I'm going to move this camera up here, up to the screen. And so people who, of course, are listening to this, you don't see it, but, it's just very quick. I'm just going to press it, and then I'll tell you which is number one. And number one is Age of Civilization, which is in Belgium, so I can't play that. Number two is Hadara, which is in Belgium, so I can't play that. Number three is Shadows in Kyoto. Now that I can play, and that is a 2-player game. So, and it's not that long. So actually, we can play it together on a Friday as like a starter or a finisher, because it doesn't take long. It's basically a glorified version of chess, but then with powers and other stuff and so on. It's pretty cool, actually. So I'm kind of happy that came out because I even pimped it with, I pimped it with metal pieces, and it's an Emperor S4 game.
Okay.
So we'll see. Good start, yeah. And just number 4 was Tsuro, and number 5 was Yidu.
Yidu.
Yidu was so close.
Good excuse. Love to play Yidu.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Barcelona. Just like last time, I'll read what Barcelona is all about. It's the mid-19th century. The city of Barcelona is the most densely populated city in all of Europe. Shortly after the old city walls were finally destroyed, Ildefons Cerda, who is now considered the inventor of urbanism, presented the plan for the creation of the Example, the expansion that Barcelona so desperately needed. Its construction began in 1860. In Barcelona, you will take on the role of builders in the 19th century Barcelona who are working on the new expansion to the city. Your main goal is to construct buildings to accommodate the citizens who want to leave the old city, and in the process, you will also build streets, create tram lines, and build public services. You may even decide to explore modernism, a new architectural and arts style that has been gaining popularity among the rich. Barcelona is played over a variable number of rounds interrupted by 3 scoring phases before a final scoring phase. Every round, each player takes a single turn consisting of 2 or more actions, a building phase, and then preparation for their next turn. At the end of the game, the player with the most points wins. Description from the publisher. Okay, so basically, it's a game by Danny Garcia. Do you own any games by Danny Garcia?
This is the first one. I backed his. This is his first one that's been released. There was a Kickstarter Arab. I can never pronounce it. Arborea. I backed that. I did back that because it looked very similar to Batoku. And that got very good reviews so far for the people who've got it ahead of time. It should be arriving soonish. And we saw the demo. They had the display of his new game, the Windmill Farm, the one set in Holland. Yeah. So those are the 3 games he's made so far, and they all look good. So he looks like a designer to watch. which is quite exciting.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah, I thought it was just funny at the expo that the Windmill Valley game was there.
Yeah,
but as you said, you could just look at it.
Maybe they're still working on it. I don't know. They're just trying to show it off.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, there wasn't even anyone standing next to it that knew anything about the game.
The first day, there was someone I got to speak to him, and they went through the rules.
Oh, okay.
But on the second day, he wasn't there.
Okay. All right. So the art is by Alexander Zawada and Zuzana Kolakowska, by the way.
Okay.
1 to 4 players, and according to BGG, it's best played at 3, which is what we played at your place. But then you played another time. Was that with 3 or more?
No, someone pulled out as well. So it ended up being with 3
people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. We'll wait for you to get to it.
Okay, so it's 60 to 90 minutes. Do we agree with 60 to 90 minutes?
Well, that's the thing now. It was we played far longer than 90 minutes with 3 players. And same thing happened with when I did play it with 3 players the second time. So I think the problem, okay, I don't want to talk about it later, but I think AP is what causes the game to take longer than usual.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Solo, I think it is okay, but like you said, AP plays a huge role. BGG rates it at the moment at a 7.9 after 1,300 ratings. So, you can assume it's a good game. And the weight is 3.35 out of 5.
Okay, that sounds right. That's it. I think that's a good spot. That's around a good spot for games for us.
I agree. Okay, I've covered all the basics. I could also say it's a tile placement and worker placement game. Yeah, that's basically it. Okay, so what do you think of the looks?
I think it's beautiful. I really do. I think it's thematically appropriate. The art looks thematically appropriate because I think most of it does. I've never been to Barcelona. You've been, right?
Yeah, but it's drunken blur.
Fair enough. But I'm sure can you at least remember the streets, what the streets look like? The pavement.
To put in the context, I was 17, 18, final year of secondary school. We went there and we partied like crazy with school at night, and during the day was just trying to get over the alcohol and everything. I remember it being beautiful. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But for example, the artwork, you might argue it's a little busy. The art is maybe, I don't know. How do you feel about the art? Do you feel it's busy?
I feel it's very red, in general. But I don't know. It's I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's unique, original. I think it looks different with all the buildings. In the beginning, maybe not so much without the buildings, but once the buildings are there, it definitely looks cooler and so on.
Yes.
I think it's okay. It's okay to nice looking. But that's because it's not really my style. Like, for example, like Brussels 1898 or whatever, that kind of style I also I'm not really fond of. I don't dislike it, but it's just okay for me.
No, I think it's I think I like the fact that it's just, for example, the cobblestones and the mosaic type effect is based on the city. But I do feel maybe it gets a bit too loud at times, the game.
Mm-hmm. I do like the citizens a lot.
I do, and it's quite clear. The color makes it quite clear. The one thing I didn't like, I think maybe it's nitpicking, but it's the different, when you build the layers of the buildings, they look too much the same.
Yeah. Okay. So I forgot to put some context. First of all, how the game actually works. So basically, in Barcelona, you're building up the city, and when it's your turn, you're going to be, or at the end of your turn, whatever, you grab 2 citizens from a bag. You have got worker class, middle class, and then the elite, different colors, so green, pink, and blue. And then basically, you're going to put these on top of each other, these 2. In any way that you want, and then you're going to put them on the board, which is just like Nova Roma, basically a worker placement style where you activate both the row and the column. But this adds it a little bit different because it's not just a row and a column. You also have a diagonal line, which potentially allows you to activate 3 actions in one go. But all those spots cost more. They're like more expensive to pay $1 to do it. And what is original as well is after you've placed your citizens and done your actions and everything, if you are able to, you have to build a building. You cannot decide not to. So you have different types of building. You have like only like a side of a building, which only requires 2 people, doesn't matter who it is, and doesn't really give you much aside from the points for that building. Then you've got the first level, which you just also need 2 regular people, but it covers a whole block. And then you've got the next level up is like for the middle class, and that will give you some extra stuff to get the church going, right? And then you've got the elite ones, which will give you need to have an elite citizen for that, which will give you a lot more points. But you need to have 3 tokens instead of 2 nearby. So it can't be just your 2. It has to be another one nearby to use it. We're not going to go in depth here because in the end, of course, it's not a how to play. But that's basically the rudimentary rules, kind of how it works. Yeah.
Which is a clever mechanic because by building those buildings, it forces you to open up worker spots for someone else.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. And that's also, you take that into your thought process. And that's another thing. Like, if you put your people like on a corner somewhere, and it doesn't mean that you have to build on that corner. If there's another build option somewhere else on the map, you can do that, which was horrible for my brain to comprehend the first time I played because I kept looking where I put my guys I can build, but you can build on other areas as well if it were to happen. Because you can go to a completely different area as somebody else, but of course that would lead to you not building anything, which also means to you not getting any points. So it's like, it depends how good your actions are.
You have to be building something. You have to at least build something, because if you pass up not building something, it's a lot of points you can mess out on.
Yeah, it's like I said, unless the actions give you so many points that you can forego the building itself.
But it still feels bad if you don't do it.
Yes, that's true. That's true. One thing I like about it is that you have, like I said, it's the row and the column actions. And here you have the basic already set up, printed on the board, the actions, but you also have the tiles to randomize everything. Which kind of, I wouldn't say, basically they say the basic setup is good to learn the game.
Yes.
Because, and I think the main reason for that is the diagonal action is the tram.
Yes.
And the tram is a little bit more complicated than other stuff.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think I agree with that. I thought the same thing. It's the one that's a little more complicated, so they made it the action you do less often.
Because the funny thing with the tram is you drop off a passenger, which costs you money as well. But then because of dropping off the passenger, the row or the street where you drop that passenger off, you can do that action as well. So it's kind of like in Nova Roma, you had the action where you can double, a different action or get an action that's already blocked. The tram kind of functions here that way.
Yeah.
Because
maybe we talk about it later when you randomize it. Okay, do you want to talk about now or later the effects of randomizing?
Well, we can do that now, yeah.
Okay, because you're right. I think they put the tram in the middle because it's the more complicated action. Plus, ultimately, it's a bonus action, so it's not a necessity. So if that diagonal action is something more important, it becomes more difficult to do an important action, which will probably affect people's games. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the diagonal one is one you could easily ignore because it's simply a bonus action. But if it was something like money, if it was money, that would be really difficult. The game would be really much more difficult. If that was the only way to get money would be in the diagonal action.
Yeah.
Because you have to pay money to get money. So the game would be totally different then.
Yeah. And I'll have to say though, the tram would kind of be elevated as an action because the game is kind of like divided into three parts, right? Like time wise, like you're scoring a first goal. Once you reach it, it's scored. Then you score the next goal, and then it's finished. And you score the last goal, and then the game ends. So if the tram is like the first goal, or the second or the third, people might be more, motivated to try to get that action just to get those points.
Yes,
in that way. Yeah, but aside from that, I totally agree with what you said. So yeah, I think, but I'm a big fan of variable setup because it causes more problems or more different ways of thinking every time you play. And
but I do like the idea of a set standard. I do like when the board has a set starter setup, so that if you play with new players, this is balanced. It's not going to make the game more difficult. Anyone can just go plug and play, right? But for when you have the game many times, you want the variability.
Yeah. So when you play the second time, you also play with the base.
Yes, because there's new players. Yeah.
Did they pick up?
Yeah,
it
was strong players. It was Steven and those guys, right? So there were strong players, but I did notice, there was maybe some actions. But because it was my second time I played it, third time, taking my second half time I played it because I played the demo at in Bangkok. I started seeing combos already, so I had a advantage. Like for example, there's the one where you can build a building, and there's an intersection with money.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make the money to build the building.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what it is, I automatically put my cobblestone, what do they call it, cobblestone or
your intersection
on that intersection.
Yeah.
So if I put my guy there, I'd get $3, which was enough to build a building.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it was an unfair advantage I had over the other guys because I could see, automatically I saw the connection, which I didn't see when we played the game. When we played the game, I didn't see that combo. But the second time I played it, or second half time I played it, I saw the combo. So that's why we need randomized because that would become almost rote. You would do the same thing all the time if that was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Which I think.
Yeah, but it's true. It's a very good move. And even if you, because that's another part of the game, the intersections. Even if you don't use your own intersection, then somebody else can go on there, and then you still get at least a gold. Or if you have multiple intersections on the board, you might get some cloth, which is also a resource, or you might get some points or other stuff as well on top of that. So
yeah. So I said, so now. I would never play with the base setup again, simply because I know that combo there already.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And plus, when we want to play again, we want a bit of scarcity in a resource. So maybe something more vital being in the diagonal would make the game more interesting because there'll be some sort of scarcity.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, variable setup, really good.
If we can't have player powers, variable setup at least.
Yeah, and people who listen to this podcast now are like, yeah, thanks for screwing the basic setup for me.
Because I gave away the combo, yeah. Well, maybe it's an advantage now. I've given you a tip.
That's okay. And by the way, this podcast will also roughly be released at the same time when I released the Barcelona footage, the solo gameplay that I did. So, it's a nice combo. Another thing that I liked is the buildings themselves. That they basically, you have to, like you said, you have to get three gold, which is normally not that easy. If you
3 gold to get the top, to get the three to get the top one. They get cheaper as you go. The top one is 3, the second one is 2, then 1. So if you get the top one, you need 3. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Like you said, the top is 3, and then the second 2, and there's 1. But of course, the top one is the best because you have more points, right? But the action stays the same.
Yeah, the action is exactly the same. It's just that I can't remember the variability. I think it's 8 points for the first one, and I can't remember I think it's 8 points.
It's 12.
Was it 12? Is that much? I can't remember. But I leaned heavily into the building strategies both times. I think you got to go with focus on buildings.
It's 10.
10 points.
10 points for the first one.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Don't know about the second. But yeah, so the fact is, and also those are also once again randomized. Not all of them come out immediately, and some might really link towards whatever strategy you're doing, and it basically gives you extra actions. So yeah, I think that's cool. They look nice too.
Yeah, do look nice. I think they're very, very important. I think you can't. I think they're vital.
Mm-hmm.
Both games I won, I leaned heavily into those buildings.
And it's also like you said, you see combos, but in one turn, you can easily have a building, which then activates your train, which then activate your cobblestones, which then activates maybe a way to get something else. Because the cobblestones, it's like basically you're paving the road, and it's basically another part of the map, the board, the map, the board, whatever, that has all these bonuses. And the beginning is not really interesting, but if some people put some cobblestones out, then suddenly the actions become more and more interesting.
And especially also in a combo, if you can combo with the Sagrada action. That's huge.
Yeah. So the Sagrada is when you're building the church, the cathedral, right? And basically when you build buildings, you can push it forward. When you do the cobblestones, you can push it forward. And if you push it over certain points, you can, like if you go over number 1, then you can choose one of the level 1s that give you a bonus. Number 2, more bonuses, 3 and 4. So yeah. No. So that's also another one that, because I noticed that in our first game, I think you guys either lapped me or almost lapped me, one of the two, I don't really remember, but I always noticed like, oh, I had a turn, I had 10 points. Oh, he had a turn, he had 32 points. So I saw the rain coming, the storm. So I did feel that when you play, the money is quite tight.
Yes, but I think Silk's tighter.
Yeah, but I mean the resources in general.
Okay, I thought you meant one or the other.
Yeah, Silk is tighter because you don't have a spot that gives you 2 Silk.
That's right. You get the one with the victory point. I think 3 victory points.
3 and Silk, yeah.
Yeah. So Silk is very important.
And like I said, you place your citizens to activate the actions and to build buildings. But when you build buildings, the citizens are taken off the board and they're placed on a track. So you have 3 tracks, one for the worker class, one for the middle class, one for the elite. And as that track gets filled up, certain point values get covered up, which means you look for the next uncovered leftmost point value, and those are the points you get for your buildings.
Yes.
And also, if you reach a certain point, the first round is over and you score the first point, goal point, whatever that you're going for. And then you do it again for the second one, and you do it again for the third one. So you actually have an impact on, do I want the round to finish now, or do I want to, kind of, bide my time a little bit more. If I want to finish now, I should put maybe the elite on top of my 2, or maybe should have put it in the bottom so it doesn't come out as quickly.
So that was a very good way to do interaction. I thought it was a very clever way. And especially with our game, we had a very strange situation when none of the greens came out.
Yes, and all of the blues were crazy in the beginning. Because in my game, I don't know if it's the one that I recorded because I played it several times solo, but I had one where all the pinks came out, like constantly, which was a pain because those are really nice buildings to build, the middle ones, because they give you something, and you have like a Cerda track, which basically multiplies your scoring goals throughout the game. But if you build the middle and the top buildings, the track goes down. So you don't want it to go down necessarily, but if you have like the middle building, it's like it gives you like a little bit of both. It goes down a little bit, but you also get the Sagrada Familia stuff, the church stuff. So yeah, it's like a nice mix of both. But yeah, at one point in my game, those basically almost ran out, and so I could only build the triple or the single. So that became quite a challenge. But yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's the recorded one. I'd have to double check again. But yeah. It's cool because it's unpredictable, which is a good thing.
Okay, you're right. And you have a little bit of choice within where you put which one you put on top, which one you put on bottom of the two citizens. So there's a little bit of decision making. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah, and It's for example with the solo as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. You really dictate the flow of the game a little bit more then. So yeah, I think it was pretty cool to have that in general. I also, one of the another positives that I wrote down is asymmetric endgame scoring, because everybody's picking up action tiles
Yes.
and you're scoring them at the end of the game, and you can boost them up to have, like, for example, I have an action tile that gives me 2 points per track that you can
Oh
put
yes.
down.
Okay. Yes.
But
yes.
then I can boost it to 4 times that score. So if I have 4 tracks times 2 is 8 times 4, 32 points. Bang. So, and that can, you have like 4 or 5 spots, I think, on your board that you can fill up, which you also have to pay for. Some of them are free, but you can also boost them. They all have multipliers.
Yeah, that's
So
very
that
clever.
can,
And the thing is, you don't have to, and you can do it in any order. So you don't have to have a tile there before you can boost it. You can boost first with anticipation of putting a tile there later. And there could be a situation where you boost something and you never get a tile out.
Yes, exactly. 4 times 0.
4 times
Yes.
0. So that was also very clever. I think that was a cool one. And also you might want to pivot, right? So you think, okay, I'm going to really be focusing on cobblestones this game. And you boost that one, and in the end you don't do any cobblestones, right?
Or somebody just takes the scoring tile away.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh yeah.
Or you
there
decide
goes my
to
cobblestone.
go cheap and do a small multiplier, and end up that's the one that you focus mainly on, and so you don't get a lot of points. That was actually really clever.
Yeah.
I did like that.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think as people play more, there's gonna be more like a fencing game. Like I pivot that way, or you do that, so I'm gonna try to take that away from you and stuff like that. I think it's gonna get more and more tactical the more you play. I think that's all that I have for the specific positives. And also just the fact that it's really good because of all the options and decisions that you make every round.
And I don't know, there was something satisfying about putting things down, building. The mechanics were fun. It was just the kind of finding that right intersection, getting okay. I would actually want to put a positive, which also some people say it's a negative, so maybe it's a bit of both. The amount of points you get. It is a dopamine. You do get the dopamine hit every time you make 20 points in one round.
Yeah.
So you do an action and you realize it's a really good action, so you get a lot of points. But you could end up with over 400 points, right? So I don't know if that's a positive or negative. But it always feels like you're doing something. You always feel like you're doing something good.
Yeah, I think it's okay because even though you can get those high scores, you get them slowly throughout the game.
Yes,
It's not like, okay, we're going to do end game scoring and we're going to go from 50 points to 430. It's not like that. That would be annoying. But in this case, I don't think. I mean, it is kind of like a way to value your turn.
Yes.
Because if you end the turn with like 10 points, then like I didn't have a good one now. Or maybe you're setting yourself up for a future turn. That could be. But in general, you should have a certain amount of points every round to make sure.
But also, what's good is like if someone's way ahead of you, you never feel like you're out of it.
Yeah, unless they keep scoring high every turn they do.
But if you've got a plan in mind, you can always catch up. You've
got those times 4, times 3 end game scoring goals as well. I do have some negatives.
Yes, me too.
I think I think there's one that we definitely share. I mean, for me, the negative is also a little bit of positive, but it's a positive on your turn, but a negative on other people's turns, and that's AP.
Yeah, it's big time. And we never play with 4. I think it'll be even worse with 4 people.
Yeah, because there'll be less spots. No 4.
Yeah, because there'll be less spots. I'm almost intrigued to try it with 4 to see how it goes. Because maybe then there'll be more interaction. People will use your intersection more. Because with 3, people are less likely to use intersection. They avoid it. So maybe with 4 people.
I would play with 4 if those 4 people all own the game and have played the game multiple times, and like, okay, let's go. We all know how to play. There's not like, oh, what does this do again? Or So I think that's a huge thing, because starting with 3 new people, that is because even And of course, some people just are AP prone. So for them, I would definitely avoid this game. If you feel the need, like I need to have the perfect turn, then it can take a while. Because even with the three of us, I felt myself sometimes just grabbing my phone, and you could say like, okay, you can already think about your turn, but the problem is, buildings get built.
Yes.
So when it's your turn, whatever you thought you were going to do might be wiped out again completely. So it's not really worth it to look at whatever the person on your left is doing or the other person. You just have to know what the person before you is doing, because that's going to define your action. So yeah.
But the thing is, but when you get it right, it's so satisfying. When you go through that, it's just AP, you're thinking. But when you see that combo that you wanted, it's so cool. Yeah. It's so satisfying.
Yeah. Let's say it's really good on your turn, but not on other people's turns. So, and this is one game where you can't really say like, you can't really comment on people having AP, because literally everyone has AP at one point.
No, I think that's a big problem, and the game would just be so much tighter, I think, because there's no scaling except for the time track. There's no scaling for 3 players. You don't need a time track scaled.
That's true.
So there's the spots will just be less spots in the 4-player game, less options.
And together with the AP, for me was positive and negative, and that is the fact that you can link so many actions. Because if somebody already takes a long time to decide their action and then links 4 to 5 actions in a row, you're like, oh.
But again, that's fun. That's fun when it happens.
On your turn.
Yeah. So solo, it's cool. No, but I mean, it took me out of the game a little bit, like, because you were sitting on my left, so I rarely had an interest in what you were doing.
Yeah.
Because I know it was going to take a while. So when it was Derek's turn, then I would only awaken when he started doing something. So maybe that's also why I was lost. I don't know. But yeah. I think another thing that I wrote down, another negative, is the learning curve. Because I do think in the beginning it's a bit overwhelming. Especially with the tram and so on. And yeah, so
I would say it's
I would argue that people
difficult.
I think people who like this type of weight could pick it up pretty easily, though.
I think this is typically one of those games, like, you can tell people how it works, but it's not going to click until you have a couple of rounds and you see what other people do. And for me anyway,
I think it's because there's so many options. Like, you go,
Yes, exactly.
Whoa, what's this? It's kind of similar to Nova Roma in some ways, because there's so many options.
Yeah, because it makes you go like, oh wow, you did this. Okay, all right. I didn't realize, or I've forgotten about it already, that was an option. Yeah, but I mean, it's not a big negative. It's just something.
To be fair, that maybe the scoring goals can be a good thing to focus on, the end of round scoring goals.
And I also agree with the buildings. They should have made them more different from level 1 to level 3.
It's kind of, they all look the same. You can't tell.
It's a bit simplistic.
Yes, and I know they say, okay, the 3 has 3 red walls, or whatever, 3 sides, but it's not intuitive. You don't see it straight away. You go look.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at the board, you see red. You just see red buildings. You don't see how many.
Yeah.
My biggest, the one complaint I think I have for the game is that you don't change during the game. You start the game the same way you end the game. There's no progression. There's no arc. So we have your personal player board, and like with Fista's games, I don't know how many Fista's games you played, like Maracaibo or Great Western Trail, Bruin Lake, those games. When you take things off your player board, you sometimes get a power.
Yeah, it opens things up.
It opens things up. Whereas here, it's always the same thing. You get to move up. You get to move up that one track, the multiplier track for end of game scoring, which goes back to 0 at the end of the game, end of every round.
Yeah.
So it's either that or you get some resources. No, you don't even get resources. I'm looking at it now. You just get that move up that track. That's it. So
it's just always the same thing. Yeah.
So there's no progression. I think maybe they felt maybe it would have been too complicated, because even in the game there's no player power, so we're all the same. And even when we pick up, the public buildings, public service tiles, They are one-time effect. And there's in-the-game scoring. So there's no powers. There's nothing that changes your game or the way you play the game. There's only in-the-game scoring, the one-time powers, or even the Sagrada is a one-time thing. The Sagradas.
Mm-hmm.
So you never change. You never you never say, "Oh, I'm now the cloth merchant." Every time I go, I get cloth, I get 2 cloths. Or something. You know what I'm trying to get at? There's no change. I think that is a weakness to the game. I think the game could have been far more interesting if you had specialization, either from a player power, or especially when you start taking stuff off, because the only other thing you get is that when you put your intersections out, you just get more options of stuff.
Yeah.
But again, it's someone else has to go there. It's not like you have a passive power. It's just like if someone goes there. So I feel that's one problem, is that there's no arc in your gameplay. The way you start, the way you end.
Yeah, that's true. You don't get any bonuses or whatever, no extra stuff. I think it's also, and from a design perspective, it does save you a lot on balancing, because if you add that, you'd have to do a lot more balancing as well.
But I think that, you talk about overwhelming for new players. Whereas if you say, okay, you're going to be the small streets guy, your small streets are cheaper, or small streets you can do 2, it's some sort of power. It gives you a little bit of focus.
Yeah. It puts you in a certain direction. Yeah. While here, everything is open.
Everything's the same, and I said literally everything's the same, which makes the game more fair, I guess. You're right. I won because I played better than you, not because I utilized my power better than you.
Mm-hmm.
A slight advantage. I don't know. It's strange because most Euros of this type always seem to have player powers or some sort of asymmetry to your gameplay. There's no asymmetry in this game.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's one of those designers who enjoys it, that everybody has like a level playing surface, and not like you won because you got that card. Although you could argue.
Yeah, I think it's mainly because the game was really complicated. They want to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah. Well, there might be an expansion, right?
Yes, I think there would be something for the expansion. No. Some sort of change.
I have one more negative one. That's my last one, and that is the setup and cleanup.
Okay.
Because it takes a long time to do both. Your
setup wasn't super
player
bad.
board, putting all this stuff out, your player board, and then
fair enough.
Yeah. It doesn't come with any kind of insert or whatever to make it faster. Although I can say in the secondhand, on the Etsy market or whatever, having an insert for this would be really appreciated, I think.
Yeah. Or hopefully
and also
space.
the cleanup. I think especially the cleanup, because then you have to take out all the different
files,
things again, separate them, put them all back together. Yeah. So that is. For some people who might find that very annoying, that's definitely going to be a thing. To especially if you play solo, then you got all the other stuff as well. But yeah, so you played the game twice now with multiple players, right?
Yes.
So aside from seeing you talked about your experience about how you see the spots and the combos better, but you play with me and Derek, that was our first time, and then we played with 2 other people with their first time. So how do you think in general how were the people's reaction in your second game, basically? What did they think?
Enjoyed the game. They did enjoy the game, and it was this good. Yeah, they're also talking about the game afterwards. That's when when you do the when people like the game is when they stop and they start talking about their moves and what happened. You do a play-by-play account. And we were doing that afterwards. So they seem to have enjoyed the game.
Oh, okay.
And we enjoyed and our game with Derek, we also all enjoyed it. So it's positive.
Well, the fact that I went home and I immediately played solo, the next day, I think, not the same day, is also a sign that I enjoyed it as well. I just looking here on BGG, they have a file already called an update for the solo to make the bots more challenging.
Did you find that
necessary? Well, I won twice. I remember that. So yeah, maybe that's because there was a mistake in there. But yeah, it just says some changes there if he's in a diagonal street. Because the thing is with the bot, it has its own deck, right? Of I think like 9 cards or something, a little bit more, and then you always discard a card at the beginning of the game because I mean you flip a card and the card that's flipped on the other side it has the action that the bot does. On the left side it has an arrow and the arrow basically decides where the bot goes if there's like multiple options for his decision. So of course, first he's going to move, and the first requirement of his movement is he's going to go to his own intersection. If there's no intersection there, then he's going to go where he can build. And if he can't build, I think he's just going to avoid a street with your intersection. Yeah, I think that's the order. But the thing is, that can cause the bot to be kind of like stuck because let's say he has one intersection, right? He'll go to the intersection, he'll put his people there, and then he might build. The next round and the next turn, he's going to move away from his intersection anywhere else. He puts people down, he might build again. But that means the next round he's just going to go back to his intersection again because it's the only intersection nearby, no matter where the arrow is pointing. Or if I make sure I put my guys far away from him, then he's just going to constantly go to the stuff that he put down. He's going to stay in his little circle while I try to go to the different side of the map and get all the building bonuses there because he's not going to interfere because it's too far away.
Do you think that would happen in a normal two-player game? They will avoid each other.
I think it's a strategy. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a good strategy, but
you might. I was wondering if that's what ends up happening. You end up just avoiding each other.
I don't think so. I don't think so because in a two-player game, a human you can go wherever you want. So if I see that you put like 2 guys out,
you take advantage of it. Yeah,
get like a 3rd level building, I'm gonna jump on it immediately. While the bot does not because the bot doesn't see it.
But how many times would you do it though? Because you're aware of the other person doing it, being able to take advantage of it.
The thing is, the second time I played solo, the bot was more like hovering in the middle. So then it was like then he didn't stick to the same area as much. But the first time he was like almost always doing circles. I mean, of course, at one point he builds everything around him, right? And then he has to move outside of his comfort zone. But by the time I already took all the bonuses and whatever, and I did feel it was quite easy to win against the bots because I'd played again before with you guys as well, and you can. As you're playing, you see what the bot does in this action, so you can kind of like, I wouldn't say manipulate it, but for example, the bot has set scoring just like Nova Roma.
Okay.
So if there's a tile that gives 2 points after the first round, right?
Yeah.
It is just going to be at ×4 on this cheddar track. So it's going to be 2 × 4 and then times the difficulty level. So the difficulty level is like 2, then it's going to be 8 × 2. He's going to get 16 points every round at the end of the round. But if it's like ×5 or something, I think, then he's going to get a bunch more, or ×6 or whatever, depending on the difficulty level. So he also never goes down the cheddar track, so he's always at the top. So some of his scoring is predictable. Same when he's boosting his own actions, then it's also going to be the tile times the boost times the difficulty level. So you can already kind of like predict his scoring. So you can anticipate it a little bit. So it's not a bad bot. It's not at all. But it's
the main question is, when you played it, did you feel like you were playing the game, like a full game, a proper game?
Yeah, I played a full.
Did it feel like? Did you get the same feel when you played, like when you played with us? That's ultimately what matters, right?
On my turn, yes. On his turn, I sometimes thought, "What are you doing?" But maybe that's what you guys were thinking when I was playing.
Like so basically, you're playing with Matthew, crazy like a fox.
Crazy like a fox, yes, yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, I played multiple times solo, and I gladly play again. And maybe now with the more difficulty, the increased difficulty, maybe cool. I'll play even more. But Yeah, I think I only played easy and medium though. I didn't play on hard. So, but yeah, I mean, the game is just like Nova Roma, doing the puzzle, right?
Yes, and
It's
that's what
your
makes
turn. You try to combo, try to find the ways, and yeah.
it's like the looking for those two actions, right? And then that greediness comes in. I suffer from greediness in games, right? Like I really want that action, but that other action's terrible. I don't want that other action. It's not a good action or it's suboptimal action. So do I focus on the one action I really need and take the suboptimal one, or do I go for the other one? Do I look for second one? There's two better ones or two less good. It's just that push and pull of decision making. I really love that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
When there's too many good options or too many bad options, and you're trying to work out which is the least bad option, or you're trying to work out which is the 60% good choice. I really
The frustrating part is my last game with the bot. He had I had this super combo already, and I was one cloth short. And there was absolutely no way I could get it. And it was so frustrating. I kept looking, what if I go here and then with the tram and then there and then there, and just really looking for it, but could not find it. It was very sad. But let me see the scores, because for my solo at least. So once there was a beginner, I had 294 and the AI had 182.
How much did you have against us? How much did you make in the normal game? Do you remember?
Well, no, I didn't write it down. And then, because I made a video, remember?
Yes.
But then there was something wrong with it. I don't know. And then my second game was medium. So then I had 329 and the AI had 286. So with the hard bots, maybe I would have lost then.
Okay, that's good then. Because you want
that big.
I don't know if you like me, but I want to lose solo games. I prefer losing solo games because that means it's a challenge and you want to keep coming back to try.
Yeah, and this one is good. Like the Nova Roma bot is just like, easy. It starts at 10 points. Medium starts at 20. Hard starts at 30. So it doesn't matter what difficulty level you play, because at the end of the game you can just say, I won on easy, but I lost on medium and hard. But in this case, not the case, because there's a lot of calculations throughout the game, so you do have to play it out basically completely. But yeah, this one for sure will stay in my collection. I don't,
That's it. I think that most of the games from this publisher, Board and Dice, at this weight, they all I enjoy all of them, most of them, just about all of them. Terracotta Warrior, Barcelona, all the T games. It's just that right, that good depth. So would you pick up the Windmill Farm now?
I don't know. It looks strange. It looks like a cartoon a little bit.
The graphics, looked a bit odd.
So I don't know,
but it was actually really interesting. A Rondell selection. It was actually quite nice.
It looks interesting for sure. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm interesting. I'm always interested to try anything. So I'll be open to it.
Fair enough.
But outright buy.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
But to be honest, if I hadn't been interested, was it because I was interested in this game that you became interested, or were you already automatically interested in this game?
If we hadn't gone to Thailand, I wouldn't have bought it.
Okay.
Because we went to Thailand and it was also all over the website, right? The releases, and Barcelona was one of them, and and I think I definitely got swept by the hype.
Yes.
Because that made me do more research, and it was a gamble, I have to say.
Okay.
But it was a good one.
I'm glad you liked it, because I agree. It's a good game. It's the one we want in our collection. We need that type of that. It's we've got plenty of these type of games, but but it's the kind of game I like to have on my shelf. It's that weight. I like that weight.
I'm unsure. It's another one of those games where I feel I can't take it out for my regular gaming group. It has to be more the Euro crowd.
Yes.
So I think it's destined for a solo spot in my collection for now, for sure.
It's a kind of game I usually play with my group. Miguel, Esteban. This is the kind of games we usually play.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my group, I think at the moment is just reduced to me and my 3 daughters. 2, 3, and 6. So
It's not Barcelona then.
no, it's more like frog soup and stuff like that. So yeah, okay. But I think we can. I think we can stop here. Actually, I think it was.
It was good talk.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Good game. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them.
Perfect.
And that's it.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.